Wow, thank you very much. And you have a record crowd here today, so that's a building that's not exactly brand new, it looks like. But the crowd is record, and that's a long time, and thank you very much. And to the fire marshals and fire department and police and everybody else involved. A lot of people outside that couldn't get in. I want to thank everybody. And also to Chairman Schaefer for the tremendous leadership over the past 4 years. And thank you to the great state of Georgia. We love Georgia. We love Georgia. Great place. Great place. Keep America great again, he just said. It's a great state. We're also thrilled to be joined by the NRCC chairman, Congressman Richard Hudson. Where's Richard? He's around here someplace. He is fantastic. Hello, Richard. Oh, there he is. We're going to his state in a couple of minutes, you know. We're going to be here, and we're going to North Carolina, and that'll be great. But Richard, congratulations on a great job. In addition, today I'm honored to receive the endorsements of some really incredible people, patriots, I would call them, Georgia patriots, including Representatives Mike Collins. Where's Mike? Where's Mike? Thank you, Mike. Great person. Thank you very much. And also Andrew Clyde and Marjorie Taylor Greene, thank you for those endorsements. Thank you very much for those endorsements, and we love you people. That's a great group of patriots. And speaking of patriots, and I met his father. I love his father, too. His father was really the man that gave him those genes, according to the world, but I think the mother probably had an even bigger impact. Burt Jones, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. And comes from an incredible family, but Bert's done a fantastic job. And he's going places. I've been saying that for a long time, and so far I've been right. He's doing very popular and doing a great job as Lieutenant Governor, Public Service Commissioner. The first person in this state to endorse me, Bubba McDonald. Bubba. Where's Bubba? There he is. Thank you, Bubba. And I like your jacket, Bubba. I also want to thank very much, he's always been there, a real powerful, strong person and a man who loves your state and loves our country, State Senator Brandon Beach. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. He's a great guy. For 7 years, we've been engaged in an epic struggle to rescue our country from the sinister forces within who hate it. They hate our country and who want to destroy it. Can be no other reason. These forces are far stronger than Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran, all put together. Think of that. From within is worse than from without. Because the right leader in America, if you have that leader, you're going to have no problems with those countries. We had no problems. We got it all straightened out. They understood. Would have never, ever had the problem with Russia, Ukraine. China right now is looking like they're going to do something, and they would have never even talked about it. Right now, however, they're putting us in the most dangerous position in the history of our country, and that's to a large extent because of the kind of weaponry we're talking about. Together, we stand up to the globalists, we stand up to Marxists, we stand up to the rhinos. You know, the rhinos are pretty bad. Because with the rhinos, you don't exactly know where they're coming from. The others you know, but with the rhinos, sometimes you find out. And we got to stand up to the rhinos. Communists and environmental extremists. You know, you have environmental extremists, too. We stand up to the open borders fanatics, the radical left Democrats, their lawless partisan prosecutors, the prosecutors. Every time I fly over a blue state, I get a subpoena. We want him before the grand jury. And we stand up to the fake news media, which is seriously bad. And on November 5th, 2024, we're going to stand up to the corrupt political establishment. We're going to evict a totally corrupt president, Joe Biden, from the White House. And we're going to finish the job that we started, the most successful presidency. And I think, as everybody in this absolutely packed House knows, I've put everything on the line, and I will never yield. I never yield. I will never be deterred. I will never stop fighting for you. I didn't need this. I had a great life. People said, would you do it again? The answer is yes, because we're going to make America great again. We had it there. And then bad things happened. Bad things happened with an election, right? Bad things happened. But we're going to make it great like never before. I really believe that. With your vote, we will take back our country from these fascists and thugs, and we will absolutely make America great again. From the beginning, our America First agenda has been an existential threat to the rotten political class that gets rich and powerful at your expense, erasing our borders, cheating on elections, exporting our jobs, and squandering our blood and treasure on endless foreign wars. We were out of all our wars. Everybody said when I got elected, remember, oh, his personality, you're going to have wars, you're going to be fighting the whole world. And it just worked out. Actually, it was my personality that didn't want to make people fight. It was sort of reverse. First time in 70 years that this has happened. We started no wars. We finished some. We defeated the ISIS caliphate 100% and many other things. We've rebuilt our military. Of course, they gave a lot of it away, didn't they, huh? They gave a lot of our military away to Afghanistan, if you can even believe it. Afghanistan is now one of the largest exporters of military arms. They sell the things that we gave to them. $85 billion. We lost 13 soldiers, many very horrifically wounded, and we left many Americans behind. They moved out the military first. No, it was supposed to be the opposite. You move out the military last. They've launched one hoax and witch hunt after another to try and stop our movement and thwart the will of the American people. Every time not even believable. Witch hunt, scam, hoax. It's called election interference, and they're doing the best they can with it. Because who the hell would vote for them with the policies that they have of open borders and no voter ID? As the Durham report, which just came out, proved, they spied on my campaign. Think of it. Can you imagine if it was the other way around? They spied on my campaign, and we caught them. They forged false evidence to get illegal surveillance warrants. The FBI offered $1 million for a fictitious dossier written by a foreign spy to try to frame me for treason. Now they're trying to do it again. These people don't stop, and they're bad, and we have to get rid of them. We have to get rid of them fast. They put our country through hell, and they knew it was all a lie the entire time. They knew it was a lie. Remember, it's not me they're going after. It's somebody else, and that person will not be able to withstand the fire. If it's not me, it'll be somebody else. They're not going to withstand that fire, because that fire doesn't stop just with me. That fire is going to go on against any conservative, any Republican, anybody other than them, because they want the power, but they actually want to destroy our country. I believe that, because there could be no other reason. But I know them all, and they, in many cases, even admit it. They come up, they say, how do you take it? We take it and we fight back like nobody's ever fought before. Think of it. Think of it. We had Russia, right? Total fake. All came out now fake. It was all made up by Hillary Clinton. The dossier was by Clinton and others, the Democratic Party, DNC. So we had Russia, Ukraine. The no collusion Mueller witch hunt. They found after 2.5 years there was no collusion. Impeachment hoax number 1, perfect phone call. Impeachment hoax number 2, the illegal censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop from hell. Remember the laptop from hell? Remember that? When the 51 intelligence officials falsely said that it was Russian disinformation. Everybody knew that wasn't true. They knew it wasn't true. That's become a big scandal. That was another form of cheating on the election. a lot of the great pollsters, we have a couple of them here tonight, they said that you look at what they said about it, 17-point difference. It's incredible. But the 51 intelligence agents lied. Now the Marxist left is once again using the same corrupt DOJ and the same corrupt FBI and the Attorney General and the local district attorneys to interfere in our elections at a level that our country and few countries have ever seen before. They're cheating, they're crooked, they're corrupt. These criminals cannot be rewarded. They must be defeated. You have to defeat them. Have to defeat them. Because in the end, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way. Here I am. I'm standing in their way, and I always will be. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The ridiculous and baseless indictment of me by the Biden administration's weaponized Department of Injustice will go down as among the most horrific abuses of power in the history of our country. Many people have said that. Democrats have even said it. This vicious persecution is a travesty of justice. You're watching Joe Biden. Joe, think of it. Biden is trying to jail his leading political opponent, an opponent that's beating him by a lot in the polls, just like they do in Stalinist Russia or communist China. No different. Our country's gone very bad, and think of it, in 3 years. 3 years ago, we were energy independent, we had no inflation, we had low taxes, we had low interest rates, we had the greatest economy in history. Think of it. I could stand up here all day long and just talk about all of the great success we had. And now we have everything's the opposite. Inflation's killing our country. Energy is ridiculous and ridiculously high. We're getting energy from Venezuela. Nobody can even believe it. I never thought such a thing could happen to America. As far as the joke of an indictment, it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing for this country. I mean, the only good thing about it is it's driven my poll numbers way up. Can you believe this? Way up. Now it's driven up, way up, and somebody said the fundraising is through the roof. That's less important. But I will tell you, it's really driven us right through the sky. We're really winning big. We're winning by we're beating the hell out of the Republicans, and we're beating the hell out of Joe Biden. That's why they're doing it. If I wasn't, let me tell you, if I wasn't, there'd be no witch hunt. There'd be no indictment. If I was losing, we're winning by a lot against the Democrats. If I were losing, you know, they're the party of disinformation. They say, we want to run against Trump. We want to run so badly against Trump. We won the first time, and then we did better the second time than we did the first time. We won by many millions of more votes, much better, not even close. We got the most votes ever in the history of our country, and today we're more popular than we were in 2020. We're going to get numbers that are absolutely incredible. Federal law enforcement should never have been involved in this matter, but they got involved. And we just can't let that happen. They got involved with Twitter. They got involved with Facebook. The pollsters say it made maybe a 17-point difference. And then they say, I lost. We didn't lose. We won by a lot. But they say I lost by 20,000 votes. 20,000 votes. You know, we'd come here for rallies. We'd come to other states for rallies. But we'd come into Georgia for a rally. We'd have 40,000, 50,000 people. They'd come in for a rally, they'd have 8, they couldn't fill up the circles. And then you hear, he clipped you at the end, just clipped you. Didn't happen. We won Alabama in a record number. We won South Carolina in a record number. And those people that run it, the professionals, say it's not possible to win Alabama in a record, South Carolina in a record, and lose Georgia just by a tiny little bit, you know? So you got to watch that. You got to watch it. We're all going to be watching it. As president, all of my documents fell under what is known as the Presidential Records Act, which is not at all a criminal act. Everything. It's all judged by the Presidential Records Act. In this whole fake indictment, they don't even once mention the Presidential Records Act, which is really the ruling act, which this case falls under 100%, because they want to use something called the Espionage Act. Doesn't that sound terrible? Oh, espionage. We got a box. I got a box. The Espionage. The Espionage Act of 1917. I think it was put in there about World War I. Boxes. And by the way, Biden's got 1,850 boxes. He's got boxes in Chinatown, D.C. He's got boxes all over the place. He doesn't know what the hell to do with them. And he's fighting them on the boxes. He doesn't want to give the boxes. And then they say, Trump is obstructioning. He's obstructing. No, it's a sad, sad day for the country. You know, I said, last night I said that our country has tears because of what's happening. We have fake elections. We have no borders. We have inflation. We have everything. It's just going wrong. There's never been anything like it in the history of our country. We've never done like this. And the division is so bad because what they do is so bad. And our people are angry, and they just keep doing it. And sometimes you need strength. You have to have strength, more than just normal strength. And we have to get it changed because we're not going to have a country left. Remember, I used to campaign, and I'd say that we're going to end up being Venezuela on steroids. And that's exactly what's happening to our country. Our country is going to hell. I was going to change the name of our campaign to Keep America Great. Now, that's not as good as MAGA. MAGA's MAGA, right? MAGA. And Keep America Great is CAG. I don't think CAG is never going to compete with MAGA. But we couldn't say Keep America Great because our country is not great. We're laughed at all over the world. We're no longer respected. 3 years ago, we were respected like our country has never been respected before. They also don't mention the defining lawsuit that was brought against Bill Clinton, and it was lost by the government, the famous Sox case that says he can keep his documents. They don't mention that. These are minor details, and that's the ruling law. When I left office and was moving to Florida, boxes were openly sitting on the White House sidewalk. Everybody was taking pictures of them. This isn't somebody smuggling boxes out. Pictures of them you've all seen. It's sitting with people from GSA and other people waiting to put them on a truck. But they were literally sitting outside of the White House waiting for a truck to come. Then the truck come. It was there for a long time, and they put it in, and they brought it down to Florida. And they make it sound like it's a big, if that's a spy operation or if that's something bad, we did a very poor job, I will tell you. First thing you learn is don't put them on the sidewalk in front of the White House. As a former president, we were negotiating with the National Archives and Records Administration, just as every other president has done. And the next thing I knew, Mar-a-Lago was raided by gun-toting FBI agents. We were negotiating. And again, meanwhile, Biden has troves of classified documents from his time as vice president, which is much tougher, actually. It's actually a much tougher standard. And even as a senator, and the senators are not allowed to bring classified documents. And I heard a senator named Dick Durbin, you ever hear of him? Happens to be a Democrat. He was beside himself. He couldn't believe that Biden took classified documents as a senator. It's a no-no, a real no-no. Can't do it. I was amazed that I saw him. I'm sure he changed his tune, you know, when he got the hell beat out of him when he went back into his beautiful marble-clad office. Many of Biden's documents were in Chinatown, and many of them were in places that you don't want to have documents. But I hear how wonderful he did. Think of it, 1,850 boxes he had. Mine is peanuts. But you saw mine because they were on that sidewalk. And they paid over $1 million a year And they're still, you know, he was paid by China, really, because China makes a big payment to the area where he has the vast preponderance of documents. And he makes about $1 million a year paid by China. And these documents were strewn all over the place. And then he has documents strewn on his garage floor where he has the now famous Corvette. You know where that's stored, his beautiful Corvette. There was no security there. They had a garage door that you could cut it with a scissor. They didn't have Secret Service. I have Secret Service all over Mar-a-Lago. And Mar-a-Lago is strong and powerful. It was actually built by Marjorie Merriweather Post and E.F. Hutton. Remember when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. Well, one of the greatest ads ever, but they built it, and it was built as the Southern White House, actually. And Jimmy Carter gave it up. He said it was too expensive to be borne by it. I said, thank you very much. We have to get that. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much. But that was actually built as the Southern White House, so it's very powerful. But we have great people, Secret Service is all over the place, and that's the way we like it. But unlike me, who had absolute declassification authority as president, Biden didn't have any authority, and he had no right to possess those documents, none whatsoever. Yet nothing happened to Crooked Joe with all that many times what we have. And you know, there was an article recently that all presidents take documents out. They bring them out, all of them, virtually every one of them in fairly modern times. If you look at Hillary Clinton, set up an illegal private server in her basement specifically to break public disclosure laws, and that would expose her and her family's finances. She stored vast quantities of classified and sensitive information, some of it leaking into Anthony Weiner. You remember him? Computer? Anthony Weiner, that was a real beauty. But much of it went into Anthony Weiner's computer. That's probably the last, I'm not sure. I think I'd rather have it on Hunter Biden's computer than Anthony Weiner's computer. And when caught, Hillary deleted and acid-washed 33,000 emails in defiance of a congressional subpoena. She already had the subpoena. And her aides smashed and destroyed iPhones with a hammer. Yet the FBI and DOJ protected her. They did absolutely nothing in Hillary's case. The FBI and DOJ largely did not issue subpoenas. They did not use a grand jury. They did not execute search warrants. And Comey declared that there was no problem. He said no reasonable prosecutor would ever bring a case like that. She knocked out 33,000 emails. And Hillary wasn't indicted. She should have been. But she wasn't indicted. She was protected by the Democrats. Biden was not indicted, and what he's done is terrible. You know, they like to say, well, what Trump did. I mean, actually, I was impressed. It looked so orderly and nice. Somehow somebody turned over one of the boxes. Did you see that? I said, I wonder who did that. Did the FBI do that? Because they also did something where they put documents all over the floors and they took pictures and they tried to pretend like I did it, and then they had to apologize they did it. Remember that famous picture? But the box that was turned over, it had newspapers, it had pictures, it had clippings, it had all sorts of things. Nobody saw any documents there. Only Donald Trump is indicted, and they take one charge and they turn it into 36 charges. You saw that. Everybody was amazed. Lawyers on television, you know, they're not usually the best lawyers, but some are very good. They're saying we've never seen anything like it. They took one charge and they made it 36 different times. And we have a thug who's in charge. This is a political hit job. Republicans are treated far differently at the Justice Department than Democrats. These are the same people who caused the Lois Lerner catastrophe. That's this deranged Jack. You know who I'm talking about. Jack Smith. What do you think his name used to be? I don't know. Does anybody ever? Jack Smith. Sounds so innocent. He's deranged. But he's the one that caused the Lois Lerner catastrophe with the IRS, one of the worst things to happen in this country in many, many years, going after evangelicals and Christians and great Americans of faith. And they had to pay up, and they had to pay up dearly for it when they got caught. And this is the same guy, deranged Jack Smith. And I watched him yesterday go up and talk. He talked for about 2.5 minutes. He was shaking. He was so scared. He didn't want to be there because ultimately these are cowards. They're cowards. And he's a big Trump hater. Openly, he's a Trump hater. And his wife is even more of a Trump hater. I wish her a lot of luck, but he's a bad Trump hater and she's a Trump hater. And you shouldn't put people like that in. And you know, the people looking at Biden, he's a very nice man. They looked at Mike Pence. He had classified documents, no problem. They looked at Biden. He has so many classified documents, they don't know what to do, and he's trying to prevent them from seeing it. That's obstruction. But we didn't do any obstruction. This is a sick nest of people that needs to be cleaned out immediately. Get them out. We now have two standards of justice in our country. The Democrat communists want to jail their opponents while they protect the murderers who prowl our cities day and night, and other brazen criminals. I mean, what's happening to your beautiful Atlanta is so horrible, so horrible. People are afraid to walk outside. And no criminal is more protected than crooked Joe Biden. You know, I retired the word crooked from Hillary, because Hillary doesn't matter anymore. And we're using it on Biden, because in history, there's never been a president so corrupt. And thing after thing, Jamie Comer, Jim Jordan, the things that those committees are finding are incredible, and nobody wants to do anything about it. They say, we've caught them here, 5 million here, 5 million there, 2 million here, getting paid massive amounts of money to be on the board of an energy company and admitting he knows nothing about energy. It's really very sad. It's no coincidence they indicted me the very same day that it was revealed that the FBI hid explosive evidence that Joe Biden took a $5 million illegal bribe from Ukraine. Right now, we don't have any ammunition. Ukraine has our ammunition, all of it, just about. Think of it, I rebuilt our military. We had so much ammunition. We were stuffed to the gills, as the expression goes, with ammunition. And now we have very little ammunition to protect ourselves. And then you see that he's getting large amounts of money from Ukraine. And then you wonder, why are we doing this? And by the way, that war, I'd have it negotiated and end. It's a horrible thing. In 24 hours between Zelensky and Putin. 24 hours. Everyone says, oh, you don't mean that. No, I'd have that thing done in 24 hours. Right as they're closing on Hunter and Joe Biden, they're closing in right now. They say, let's do this. Let's go after Trump. That'll take a lot of the publicity away. We're too hot. That's what they did. Next, Hunter will probably be charged with some very minor offense so that the FBI and DOJ can pretend that they're fair. They want to pretend they're fair. We got Hunter for jaywalking. While they ignore the bribery, money laundering, and other massive crimes implicating crooked Joe Biden. Right here in Georgia, you have a lunatic Marxist district attorney of Atlanta who they say is coming after me over a perfect phone call. In fact, this call was even more perfect than the call I made to President Zelensky of Ukraine. This one is actually more perfect, where I'm complaining about the results of the election because I thought the results were ridiculous, and so do many other people in this room. And if you look at the numbers and if you look at the sheets, which sadly judges don't want to do and a lot of people don't want to do, but when you look at it, you look at truth to vote, when you look at other things with the stuffing of the ballot boxes, when you look at some of the data that came out in this election, 2020, but elsewhere, we have a long way to go in Georgia. They tell you you don't, but you do. You have a very, very long way to go. I had every right to complain that the election in Georgia, in my rigged disaster. I mean, you had a recent election where Jody Hice, congressman, very popular congressman, ran, and he was leading in virtually every poll. Where's Jody? Oh, Jody, stand up. Look at Jody. Whoa. Wow. But Jody's a better person than me because I really complain like hell. Jody says, well, we'll get him next time. But you know what, Jody? That was a bad, bad deal because you were leading in, was it every single poll? And leading by a lot. And the only question was whether or not you were going to get 50% or 49%. 50%, there'd be no runoff. 49%, there's a runoff. And not only didn't he get 50%, and the other person that you're running against, Brad, was very low in the polls. And those polls, and we have some of the pollsters here, by the way, they still can't believe it. But Jody ended up with a number. What was your final number, Jody? Yeah, around 37%. And the other gentleman got 51%, right? 51, no runoff. And then David Perdue was not losing by much. He was losing in the polls, but he wasn't losing by much. And on Election Day, he was wiped out. He lost by numbers that nobody ever thought possible. Very, very unfair. Look, we have to have honest elections. We just have to, or you don't have a country. You don't have a state. You don't have a country. You don't have anything. Remember, there was a so-called water main break that never happened. Remember the water main break? Think of that. The water main break. We got a break. Let's get in there. But that'll be coming up later as time goes by. Remember the tape? Then you have True the Vote. Found that Georgia was one of the most egregious states in the nation. Thousands and thousands and thousands of tapes showing a thing called good old-fashioned, right? Ballot stuffing. Good old-fashioned ballot stuffing. In Atlanta, people are afraid to walk to their local grocery store for a loaf of bread for fear of being assaulted or murdered. And yet, your local district attorney, Fani Willis, is spending all of her energy, all of her money, all of her time trying to get Trump. Let's get Trump. Yeah. You know, you're setting, per capita, Atlanta is about the most dangerous city in the country. Can you believe it? And people are leaving in droves. I loved Atlanta, but they're leaving in droves because it's too unsafe. And they spend all their money trying to, everything. They spend the number of lawyers. They got murderers that don't even get talked about. They have murderers that nobody even cares about. The numbers are astronomical. Beaten up, it's horrible. And they want to go into a phone call. By the way, you know, one thing interesting about the phone call, it was perfect. I have a right to complain about the election. Would Marjorie Taylor Greene, where is Marjorie? Where's Marjorie? Marjorie Taylor Greene is here. She would say, hello, Marjorie. She's a warrior. Oh, there she is. Oh, look at her. How beautiful. Oh, thank you, Barry. You want to say something?
I would love to.
Come on, say something, Marjorie.
I want to let you all know, and this is something that you know, this is something that I know. President President Trump is beating Joe Biden poll after poll after poll. He's up 7 points today. And if he were to run against Kamala Harris, he's up 11 points, which is funny. All right, Georgia, let's get the job done in 24. Let's get President Trump across the line. Let's get him back in the White House for 4 more years.
Thank you. I just wish she was a little bit more aggressive. No, she's great. She loves the country. She loves this state. She loves her district. She's incredible, and she wins her district by incredible numbers. In the past 3 years, and remember one thing, you know, when we talk about this phone call, it was perfect. It was perfect. I was complaining about the vote. Jody's heard it 10 times. But, you know, when you talk about the phone call, I had many lawyers for the state and others on the other side. Right, Bruce? I had many lawyers on the other side listening, and I had lawyers on my side. There were many people on the call. Now, I'm supposed to be a very smart person. Number one, I wouldn't do it anyway, but I sure as hell wouldn't do it with, like, many people on the line. But here's what happened. So this only came up much later. We talked, they talked, we talked. I talked about how I thought the election was rigged, how I thought it was terrible, and everything else. Brad Raffensperger was on the line, and a whole team of lawyers. Here's the main, look, think of this. The call was perfect. But none of those lawyers, they were state lawyers, big ones, the biggest ones. They didn't say, sir, what you said is inappropriate. Sir, you must immediately take that back, sir. We cannot go any further with this call unless you take it back. What you said is horrible. We want to indict you for what you said, sir. It was just, no, we just talked. In fact, we agreed to talk the next day because they knew I was not happy about an election that was rigged. And you know, when you had a couple of months later the 2 senators going up, a lot of our supporters said, we're not going to vote because they didn't feel good about what happened. They knew. They saw all those red hats and all those bandanas and all that stuff that was going in with Make America Great Again, America First. They've never seen anything like it, and they were lost by a whisker. But remember this, on the call, I say it now, nobody complained. It was a long time afterwards. Nobody said, oh, that was, and if they were going to complain, they have to complain against me. They have to say, why did you say that, sir? Why did you say that? You know, they're so virginous, they're such babies, I'm sorry. They couldn't stand. No, if they heard something wrong, they would have had an obligation to tell me on the phone. Nobody said that. You listen to the tape. We just continued a conversation. There was nothing that was said wrong. I was complaining about an election that I think was rigged. And the day that you're not allowed to complain to the proper authority, and the day that you're not allowed to complain an election, then we are indeed communist China. But just remember that for the reporters and the fake news, you got a lot of fake news back there, a lot of people back there, a lot of people outside. But for the fake news back there, nobody complained about the call. Nobody said, oh, this is a terrible thing. What you said, sir, breaks my heart to hear this, sir. It breaks my heart. No, these are professionals. They're very good, actually, at what they do for a lot of other reasons, perhaps. But these are professionals. These are lawyers. These were people that would have spoken up. Even my people would have spoken up. Sir, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to say that, or you shouldn't say that. Nobody spoke up. There were many lawyers on the line and many people. It's just ridiculous what's going on. In the meantime, Atlanta has the highest per capita rate of crime, as I told you, the highest, just about the worst in the entire nation for people getting murdered. And those people go free. But they're looking for Trump because of a perfect phone call. You have 71%, if you think of it, 71% right now, increase from last year. 71% increase in homicides in Atlanta. And it now ranks among the highest murder rates anywhere in the nation. And all they want to do is persecute Republicans and a person named Trump, who did a great job as president, I have to say. But it's very much like the Attorney General of New York and the District Attorney of Manhattan. And everybody, all these legal pundits, a lot of them are really good, and they're saying what a ridiculous indictment that was. That was the craziest indictment they've ever seen. There's no crime. In fact, they said if he lost, he gets no jail. Think of this. This is what they're doing, and they're going to spend $200 million on prosecuting a crime where there's no crime. There was no crime, nothing done there either. But they just want to get Donald Trump. The Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, she campaigned, I will get Trump. We're going to get him. She doesn't even know me. Never met her. Never met the young lady. We're going to get her. He said, Peekaboo James. No, that's not nice, Bruce. No, but think of it. She campaigned, we are going to get Donald Trump. If I win, we're going to get him. She knew nothing about me. I have a great company. I built an unbelievable company. That's their problem. We built a company that's really valuable. But private, you don't talk about it. And unbelievable company. But they're going to get Donald Trump. Paid millions and millions and millions of dollars in taxes in New York. And they're going to get me. No, these are sick people. These are sick people. Our law enforcement has become weaponized at a level never seen before. The stakes of this election could not be more stark. Either we have a deep state or we have a democracy. We're going to have one or the other. And we're right at the tipping point. Right now, we're way leaning toward deep state, but deep state isn't strong enough. It's really a communist country, a Marxist country. Deep state's not strong enough. Deep state now is a nice term compared to what we're doing. Either we have a failed country or we have a free and successful country. And either they win or we win. It's very simple. They win or we win. Now, when I look at Atlanta, when I see what happened to Atlanta over a very short period of time, and then, you have these people looking at this junk. But when I look at what happened to Atlanta in terms of safety, this was a great city at one point, and now people are fleeing Atlanta. And they're fleeing New York, and they're fleeing Chicago, and they're fleeing Los Angeles. They're fleeing Democrat-run cities, essentially. San Francisco, one of the greatest cities in the world, and now it's seriously troubled. At the end of the day, either the communists win and destroy America, or we destroy the communists, because that's what they are. They may go by a different name, fascists, Marxists. Never forget what the demented persecution of our movement is all about. It's a demented persecution. Our enemies are desperate to stop us because they know that we are the only ones who are going to be able to stop them. We stopped them. We had them stopped cold. And they cheated like a bunch of dogs on the election. I promise you this, and I say it all the time, we had a great 2016, but we did much better in 2020. I say it again and again, because the fake news doesn't want to report that. They never want to report it. What happened in 2020? I said, well, I got millions more votes. Well, I never thought of it that way, sir. Let's get to another question. If you put me back in the White House, their reign will be over and America will be a free nation again. Thank you. I stand before you today as the only candidate who has what it takes to smash this corrupt system. This is a corrupt system. I mean, they go after me. Nobody's ever been gone after like me. I've had that from everybody. Sir, this has never happened to anybody. Now, they'll do it to other people if somebody else is doing what I'm doing, but the other people are going to fold. You know who they are. They're going to fold very quickly. We don't fold. We don't fold our tent and go home. And again, we want to drain the swamp. And I'm the only one that's going to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. We know the competition. We know it. Anyone else will be absolutely ripped to shreds. These are sick, sick, sinister people. It's no wonder the swamp is getting truly desperate as they see us leading big poll after big poll after big poll. In this week's Morning Consult poll just came out. We lead the field by 34 points, with Trump at 56, DeSanctimonious at 22, Pence at 7, Haley at 3. In the Clarity Campaign poll, I don't know that poll, but I love it. It's a big deal, actually. A lot of people they interview. We're up by 56 points. Trump is at 69. DeSanctimonious is at 13. Pence is at 6. But Pence has gone down since his last, sadly, because he's a nice person. He's trying to get nasty, though, so we may have to fight a different way. All of a sudden, you notice that? All of a sudden, you get a little bit nasty, Mike. In the Emerson poll of Iowa, we love Iowa. Look, we got $28 billion for the farmers from China. Think of it. China gave us $28 billion because they abused our farmers throughout the country. I got them to pay $28 billion for the farmers. And I said, there's no way we're losing Iowa. I don't want to sound too confident, because strange things happen in politics, like you endorse people and then they run against you 2 days later. Strange things happen. You endorse people, you get them elected. You get people that had no chance, they're dead. Their career is over. You get involved, you endorse them, you do other things, you get them up, they win the election in a landslide. And then they say, we're looking forward to running against Trump. Oh, that's nice. Now they're not looking so forward to it anymore. But in the Emerson poll of Iowa, we're leading by 42 points, with Trump at 62%. And we're leading crooked Joe Biden, most crooked president in the history of our country, by a lot. In the recent Fabrizio swing state poll of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, we're at almost 50%. We're leading Biden by 5. In the ABC Washington Post poll, I'm up by 7 points over Biden. And a new poll from Democracy Institute shows I'm the only candidate who beats Crooked Joe. That's hard to believe because, frankly, who the hell wouldn't beat him? The country's going to hell. You know, they have an automatic constituency, the Democrats. It's not that easy. But DeSantis loses to him by a lot. With each passing day, more Americans are joining our patriotic movement. Together, we have achieved more than any person ever thought possible. And this was from 2016. When I announced in 2015, everyone said, oh, what, he has no experience. And they were right about that, actually. The hell did I know? I said, where the hell is China? And then I proceeded to take more money out of China's hide than any president in this. But we delivered the largest tax cuts and regulatory cuts in history, more so than the Reagan tax cuts, which were great. We built the greatest economy in the history of the world. We achieved energy independence, soon to be energy dominance, for the first time in 64 years. And gas prices were at $1.87 a gallon. We actually had them lower than that for a little while, but I had to get them up. We were going to lose the oil companies. They were going so low, they were getting killed. But now they want to give you all electric cars. Isn't that wonderful? So you feel, does anybody want to drive for an hour and then wait 4 hours to get a recharge? We'll end that. First day in office, I'll be ending all of that. You want an electric car? That's great. But if you want other types of vehicles where you can actually drive for a long period of time, that's good too. You're going to be able to have your choice. And if you want a gas stove or an electric stove, you're going to have your choice. And if you want to have a dishwasher that actually lets water come out, you know, I did that. The people came to see me, wonderful people, Whirlpool, and some people, they from Ohio. I love Ohio. We want Ohio so big. Those people are great in Ohio. Very much like you, actually. Great people. And they said, sir, China and South Korea are dumping washing machines. They're dumping dryers. They're dumping everything. They're killing us. We're going to probably go out of business. I met with the chairman of the company, and I said, wow, that's not good. And I put a big fat tariff of 50% on all of that stuff. And now they're one of the most thriving companies in the country. They were going to go out. That's one of the reasons they like me in Ohio. But we saved it. They were doing it. They were selling machines that weren't as good, but they were selling machines for so little that it was very unfair. And I think they were doing it on purpose to drive them out. You know what they do? They drive them out of business, then they quadruple the price, and you have to buy their product because you have no choice. I mean, I can't believe they get away with this stuff, but we don't get away with it with us. We created the most secure border in U.S. history, built hundreds of miles of border wall, hundreds and hundreds of miles. Got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. Said to the president, I really like the president of Mexico a lot. He's great. He's a socialist, but you can't have everything. But we got along great. But I said to Mexico, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers on the border because you're letting a lot of people in. They looked at me like, is this guy crazy? They said, no, we won't do that. One of their representatives, top person, good man. The State Department laughed when I said it. A woman was wonderful. She said, you know, I've been trying to get things like that for 25 years, sir. It's not doable. I said, you want to bet? Bet you anything you want. It's doable. It's going to be easy. It'll take me minutes. It's not doable. So I met with him, came in. I said, we need 28,000 soldiers. We want to have a policy of remain in Mexico. We don't want them to come. They're going to remain in Mexico until they get approved. We did all sorts of policies having to do with Title 42. You're sick, you can't come into our country, everything. But I said, you're going to have to do it. He said, no, sir, we're not going to be doing that. I said, here's what I'm doing. I'm putting a 25% tariff on everything that's sold in Mexico that comes into our country on Monday morning. It was Friday. And I'm signing it before your very eyes. Here, I'm going to sign it. Would you watch? Goes into effect on Monday morning. This was on a Friday. He said, may I be excused for just a minute? I'd like to make a phone call. I wonder who he called. He called my friend, who is really a good person, by the way, and loves this country. And he came back into the room within 5 minutes, and he said, sir, it would be our honor to give you 28,000 soldiers free of charge. And we had the safest border in the history of our country, by far. And that means drugs and human trafficking, which is mostly in women, I hate to say. Human trafficking, you know, you think of it as an ancient crime. It's not. The internet's made it bigger than it's ever been. But we stopped. We put that to a level that hasn't been seen in decades. And drugs were down. Now they're 11 times more than coming in just 3. 11 times more! They're pouring in fentanyl. And we terminated another thing called catch and release. We catch them in our country, and then we release them in our country. What a great policy, catch and release. We ended that. Think of it, catch and release, so Democrat fair. You catch them in the United States. They could be the worst criminals you've ever seen, and we release them in the United States. I said, what the hell kind of a policy is that? So that ended also. We did a great job, but just as I promised, I ended the disaster known as NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the USMCA, the best trade deal perhaps ever made, and a massive victory for our farmers and for your Georgia farmers and your manufacturers, USMCA. You know how I know it's great? Because they want to renegotiate the deal. Mexico and Canada, they want to renegotiate the deal. They're trying to renegotiate it with the Biden administration. And I just say to those in the Biden administration, all of whom are listening right now, by the way, don't do it. Don't do it. They took advantage of us for years and years. Now we have a deal where, frankly, it's a much better deal for us than it is for them. Don't renegotiate the deal. It's great, though. What we did is great. Isn't it nice where they want to renegotiate a deal for a change? Because these countries always rip us off. I used to look at some of the deals that were made. They were so bad. I said, do these people like our country? that are making these horrible deals. I stood up to China like no administration has ever done before. And I made people aware that China was ripping us off. Nobody knew that. They said, oh, China's so wonderful. Bringing hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into the treasury from China with taxes and tariffs, when no other president had ever gotten 10 cents, not 10 cents from China. Working with our Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue from your state, good man. We negotiated more than 50 trade agreements to boost exports by billions and billions of dollars for the American farmer. We appointed nearly 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. Gotten some great rulings. Oh, they would go crazy every time they saw me appointing a Supreme Court judge. I fully rebuilt the U.S. military. We had more ammunition than at any time. And as I said before, now we have almost none. I imposed a powerful travel ban to keep radical Islamic terrorists and radical jihadists the hell out of our country. It took a lot of heat. They said, no, let them come in. Oh, really? Why do you want them to come in? Why do you want them to come in? Let them come in. Why? Tell me, please tell me why. And if you just take a look at those 4 years, how did we do on that front? We did great. We accomplished all of this and more in just that short period of time. And just imagine what we can accomplish in the next 4 years. We can make our country greater than ever before. We have some big obstacles. One of the biggest obstacles, I think, is that we will have, I believe, 15 million people in our country from prisons and mental institutions and everything. You know, we got to, some rough ones, some real rough ones, we got to get them out. We will do it. We got to get them out. Here's just some of the bold agenda I'll put into effect when we become the 47th President of the United States. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, and we'll do it quickly. We'll do it quickly. Know them both very well. We'll get it done fast. Would have never happened if I was president, by the way. All those people that are dead would be alive today. All those cities that are burned and shot to the ground, missiles going into every building, knocking the hell out of them. And then they say 2 people were hurt. No, many, many people were killed. The numbers are far worse than you hear about. You see them knock out like 12 missiles go into buildings collapsing all over the place, and they say 2 people were injured. No, no. Hundreds and even thousands of people were killed in those attacks individually. And hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. I'll get it done very quickly. Before I ever get to office. You need the power of the Oval Office to be able to do it. You need that. But I'll get it done very quickly if it's still going on, which is hard to believe it could continue. It's a horrible, horrible, disgusting war. I'm the only candidate who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III. I will prevent it. And now people believe it, too. And without me, it will happen. And this won't be a conventional war with army tanks going back and forth, shooting each other. This will be nuclear war. This will be obliteration, perhaps obliteration of the entire world. I will prevent it. Nobody else can say that. I know all the players. I deal with them, and I dealt with them very successfully. And they respected your president, and they respected your country. And now they don't have any respect for your president or your country. To stop the Marxist prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting conservatives, I will direct a completely overhauled, and this is so important, a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. I will immediately cancel every open borders policy of the Biden administration. You can come into our country, but you have to come in legally. Under Biden, other countries are emptying out their prisons, insane asylums, and mental institutions, and dumping everyone right here in the good old USA. Following the Eisenhower model, people don't realize, but Dwight Eisenhower was very, very tough in this issue, the toughest. Very, very tough. You don't think of him as being that way, but he was very tough on this issue. We will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. When you look at the crime statistics and you see the crime, tremendous amounts of crime are pouring into our country, but we'll get the bad ones out very fast. You know, we'll be working with the local police. They know every bad one. And we're going to give the police back the respect and honor that they deserve. I will ask every state and federal agency to identify every known or suspected gang member in America, and every one of them that is here illegally will be picked up and will be sent back to the country from which they came. And to further deter illegal immigration, I will sign a day one executive order. We're going to do an executive order day one, so important, ending automatic citizenship for children of illegal aliens. Under the Biden administration, illegal aliens are treated better than our vets, okay? Not going to happen. And because we're so open, armed, and stupid, please come. They come. If you said you can't come, they won't come. That's why I was very successful. I said, no, we're not going to allow you to come in. And we really had it stopped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. I was talking to Brandon Judd, head of Border Patrol, and Tom Homan, an absolute classic, Tom Homan. You see Tom, central casting. But these guys are total pros, and we were talking recently, and they can't believe what's happened, but we can clog it up in about 2 weeks and really almost complete the job. Because we want people to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. We want to know who they are, where they're from, what problems do they bring? Are they murderers? We'd rather not have you, sir. I'm sorry, you murdered 4 people. If you don't mind, we'd rather not have you. To save our economy from Joe Biden's inflation catastrophe and economic disaster, I will deliver tax cuts, energy price cuts, and interest rates cuts, the likes of which you have never seen before, except in the Trump administration, actually. We will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, which means if a foreign country charges tariffs or taxes on our products, we will charge their products at the exact same rate. It's called an eye for an eye. Now, some of these politicians, India is very high on tariffs, and China is unbelievably high. Brazil is high. A lot of them are high. And I go to some of the politicians. We had a senator from a great state in Pennsylvania who no longer ran because I wouldn't give him the endorsement. This guy fought me all the time. I said, let me ask you something. Toomey. I said, let me ask you this question. If China's charging us 150% tariff, and we're selling the same product, and we charge them nothing, would it be okay if we charge them 150? No, sir, that's not free trade. Okay, how about they charge us 150? How about we charge them 100%? No, sir. How about 50? How about 10? No, sir, no, sir, no, sir. I said, how stupid is this? Or is he representing them in some way? And all I say is reciprocal trade. If they charge us, we charge them. Now, what will happen, a lot of them will just drop it. And if they don't, that's okay too, because we'll charge them the same thing. We'll take in billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. Reciprocal trade. I spoke to a couple of senators, and then it's not their thing. Business is not their thing. And I said, I described the reciprocal trade. They said, okay, let me get this straight. So they charge us, right? Yeah. and they charge us, and then we charge them the same thing, right, if they don't take it off. Yeah, that's right. You got my vote. Pretty simple, isn't it? It'll make a difference like you wouldn't believe, and it'll also bring back a lot of money into our country, and a lot of jobs back into our country, but we'll also probably be putting a border tax. You know, these countries come in to raid our country. They steal our country. They're stealing it. If you look at Germany with their cars, they don't take our cars, we take their cars. And I did a lot of changes, but we have to do something because they don't take our cars. I asked Angela Merkel, Angela, how many Chevrolets do you have in the middle of Berlin? Why, I believe nothing. I said, you're right, you have nothing. How many Mercedes-Benzes and BMWs do we have? It's like you can't even see without seeing them all over our highways. They're very good cars. But you know what? They've got to be fair. And they're not fair because they think we're stupid. That's the only reason. They think we're so stupid. Our leaders have been stupid for so many years. We're giving away our country. We have $36 trillion in debt. We can wipe out that debt by being smart and also by being energy dominant. We will make so much money. We make so much money and sell it to countries that don't have liquid gold under their feet. We have more liquid gold. I call it liquid gold because that's what it's better than gold. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country in the world. Nobody knows that. I did something called Anwar in Alaska, probably the biggest find ever. I think it's bigger than Saudi Arabia, but it's at least similar, but could be bigger. The first day in office, by the way, Reagan tried to get it, he couldn't get it done. Other presidents tried to get it, they couldn't get it done. The first day in office, they terminated it. This was going to make Alaska into something like nobody's ever seen before. But the biggest beneficiary would have been the United States of America. We would have been selling that oil to Japan, to China, all over the world we would have been selling it. And, but we will get that back and we'll do things. But nobody could get it approved. A friend of mine called, he said, I can't believe you got Anwar. Ronald Reagan could not do it. I will revoke China's most favored nation trade status. Can you believe it? They get a most favored. Because they say we're a growing country, we're a developing nation, they call it. We are a developing nation, so we need a big advantage over the United. Well, we're a developing nation also, if you think. We're developing in the wrong way. We're going in the wrong way. That's how we're developing. We're going to turn it around. I will gain total independence from China, and we'll work with China. We'll have a great relationship. I had a great relationship with President Xi until COVID hit our shores, and that was just too much. We actually made an incredible trade deal with China. I don't even talk about it because COVID was so bad. What came out of Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I said that right from the beginning. I never changed. Just like I was right about Live Golf. Was I right about Live Golf? I was right. I said, you better make a deal. You guys, the golfers, you better make a deal. I was right. I called that one exactly right, didn't I? Because if they merge, if you don't make a deal, you're not going to get anything. And a lot of guys got left out in the cold. But I called this one, much more importantly, I called this one. And I'll hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for unleashing the China virus upon the world. And unlike my competitor, who I got elected, by the way, Ron DeSanctimonious, who voted to gut Medicare and voted to gut Social Security 3 times and to raise the retirement age to 70. That's a big increase. I will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great nation. You know, it's one thing about a politician. They can lie during a campaign, but, you know, when a guy wanted to decapitate Medicare and Social Security, and you earned those things, you know, you earned them for a long time, you've earned them. But when a guy wants to do it, and then they run and they say, no, you know, we don't want to do it, we're only kidding, no, we don't want to do it. They always go back to doing it. I see that with politicians. It's sort of like when somebody's a never-Trumper, and then we win and they come and they just absolutely kiss my ass. Please give me a try. Please, sir, please. I love you very much. I love you. So we give them a shot. They always end up being a never-Trumper. I don't know. When they're bad, they're bad. But the truth is with politicians, I did know politicians long before I actually officially ran for office because I dealt with a lot of politicians. But when a politician has an idea to hurt Social Security, make the age 70, hurt Medicare, 100% they go back to it after the election, 100%. So you can vote for Ron DeSanctimonious because he voted 3 times to destroy. He also wants to put a national sales tax of 23% on all of our citizens, and you don't want that. That's very bad for people that don't have a lot of money. You're going to be paying the same sales tax as rich people? I don't think that's going to work too well. But he wanted to do that, and he fought hard to do it because he's a disciple of Paul Ryan, and Paul Ryan is a disaster. You don't want any disciples of Paul Ryan. I will immediately sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. And likewise, I will immediately take care of this. I will keep men out of women's sports. And who believes I even have to say this? Can you imagine having to say this? Where did this country go? Where did our minds go? They got blown up by drugs or something. I will sign a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. Now, can you believe it? Sexual mutilation. And one of the big things, I hate to even say because it's so ridiculous. Can you imagine saying this 10, 15 years ago? I will give you back your parental rights. Parental rights? Who wouldn't have parental rights? Can you believe you have to even say this? I will give you back your parental rights. If they could have gone back 15 years and somebody heard that statement being made, they say, no, that's crazy to make a statement like that. Of course they have parental rights. You can have your parental rights back. In addition, I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or mask mandate from kindergarten through college. And as I announced this week, to continue my long record of standing up to Big Pharma, I will establish a special presidential commission to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in childhood diseases, autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and other chronic health problems. Where is it all coming from? Where is it all coming from? We started a big program, but they ended it very quickly. Where is it all coming from? To uphold our Second Amendment, I'll ask Congress to put a bill on my desk delivering national concealed carry reciprocity. And I will protect innocent life just as I did for 4 strong years. 4 strong years. Bring back free speech in America. That's what we have to do. We're going to bring back free speech. Right now, we're a country that doesn't know what's happening. We're a country that hasn't been given free speech. And when you watch the cover-up of the fake news media of crimes that are being had, where Biden steals money and they don't want to have it. This would have been the biggest story 20, 25 years ago, maybe much closer than that. The things that they're revealing and are being revealed would have been front-page news. Everybody would have wanted a fake Pulitzer Prize because a Pulitzer Prize deal is fake. How about this? I'm suing the Pulitzer Foundation because they gave the Pulitzer Prize to reporters for their accurate and magnificent and beautiful reporting on Russia, Russia, Russia. They were exactly wrong. It was a hoax. So therefore, they should give back the Pulitzer Prizes. So let's see how that one turns out. They got a tough one there. They gave out the Pulitzer Prize to people that wrote about Russia, Russia, for their wonderful reporting. They were exactly wrong on their reporting. So we'll see how that turns out. Finally, to restore pride in our history and confidence in our future, I will lead a massive year-long salute to America to celebrate the 250th anniversary of July 4th, 1776. July 4th, 1776. Big, big time. Thank you. Thank you. That's nice to hear that. Some people like to use other dates. If you don't mind, I'm going to stick with that one. Is that okay? This is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea have formed together, and they're a menacing and destructive coalition and force. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard. That's like losing a war. It'll be the greatest defeat for our country in 200 years if that happens. People don't know how big that is. But it won't happen with me, not even a chance. Just like Russia would never have happened with Ukraine, and China would not even having a thought about raiding Taiwan. Some Democrats said last week, well, how do we know? And this wonderful announcer, this wonderful pundit said, well, he was there 4 years. We never heard anything about it. They never talked about it. I talked to Putin. I talked to President Xi, President Putin. I said, we're not going to do it. They never even brought it up. Now, as soon as I leave, they've got bombers flying over Taiwan. Ukraine is one of the worst things anyone's ever seen. It's just a mess. What a shame, what a shame, what a shame. All those lives are lost. If you took the worst 5 presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. They wouldn't. What they've done to our country. We are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. We're not going to let it happen. It's totally corrupt, and we can't let it happen. This is the final battle. This is the most important election we've ever had. With you at my side, we will demolish the communists, the fascists, the Marxists, the deep state, whatever you want to call them. We will expel the warmongers from our government. Let's start a war every week. Let's start a war. We don't want wars. We can't afford wars, and we don't want death. We want to keep people living, whether it's here or other countries. We don't want to kill people for no reason. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country and wants to destroy our country. We will rout the fake news media. They don't want to talk about anything. If the Democrats do something bad, they will not write it. You know, you can't have a scandal if the fake news won't talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. The job that they're doing in Congress is so amazing. Jamie and Jim and all of the people together. But the news doesn't want to pick it up. These are the biggest scandals ever in the history of our country, where a president of the United States is being paid off. And to try and deflect that, he said, let's try and arrest a president that served before him and had an unbelievable success record, a record like really very few presidents, if any, have ever had over a 4-year period. Think of it. And then we get 12 to 14 million more votes than we got the first time. And they were saying that if you get the same 63 million votes, sir, you can't lose. The pollsters are right there, sitting right there. You can't lose, sir. Well, we got millions and millions of more votes. And they say we lost, but we didn't lose. You know that. And they use COVID to cheat. They use COVID to cheat. Mail-in ballots, by the way, will always be dishonest. Jimmy Carter, very nice man, he had a commission, and his commission said the one thing: please, please never use mail-in ballots. Your elections will be fraudulent. France went to paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID. They had 36 million people voting recently. By 10 o'clock in the evening, the election was over. You had a winner, you had a loser, and that was the end of it. And they used to do mail-in ballots, but they ended it because it was so corrupt. It's going to be corrupt, whether it's, I would never say this about our mailmen because we love our mailmen, but whether it's the mailmen or all the many people that touch those ballots, they find them in rivers, they find them in streams, they find them all over the place. Many people got many ballots. You all know the stories. Everyone knows, and the Democrats know it's no good. But France ended it. Many other countries ended it. In Canada, they do a different system. They have paper ballots. So we have to think about that because, again, you don't have borders. You don't have fair elections. You don't have a country. You don't have a country. We'll expose the rhinos. We'll defeat Joe Biden, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all. The silent majority is rising. And under our leadership, the forgotten men and women will never be forgotten again. They're never going to be forgotten again. We said that in 2016. And you know, in 2016, the border was a big issue, and I did such a good job that in 2020, we couldn't mention the border because nobody thought about the border because we had such a good border. Can you believe it? I used to talk about the border, the border, the border. Everybody would fall asleep. Because we had the strongest border, the most secure border that we've ever had in the history of our country. And now it's worse than it's ever been. This makes 2016, when I took over, look like child's play. And we're not going to let it happen. We're not going to let millions of people come into our country that shouldn't be here. With your help, your love, and your prayers, we will make America great again. And I just want to thank the great people of Georgia. You've been an incredible state for me and so many friends. And I want to see you live and enjoy your state. We don't want to see people murdered, many a day. We don't want to see it. We want strength. We want to pay great respect to our police. We want to cherish our police and our firemen and all the people that make it safe, not destroy their lives if they happen to do something that perhaps, because they make mistakes, and there's always some bad ones, no matter what you do. But we cannot let our country go to hell. These cities are worse than war zones. We have to let the police do the job that they know how to do, and they know how to do it brilliantly. But we have to cherish them. We have to make them heroes again. We have to make them heroes again. So for Atlanta and from all of these cities all over the country that are rotting away and becoming cesspools of murder, we're going to do something that's going to be very strong, and we're going to stop the crime wave, because this crime wave will not let our country exist. You can't lose these great cities, these great, powerful, beautiful cities with gorgeous buildings and all of the things, and right down on the sidewalk, everybody's being murdered and beat up and mugged. We're not going to let it happen. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you. Thank you.